So the big news this week is that Gunmetal Arcadia has a release date. It'll be out February 7th, 2017.
February 7th, 2017.
That gives me about 5 months of development time remaining, including a little bit of buffer time to do any last-minute bug fixes, get all the storefronts set up. But yeah, it'll be coming out actually right after I get home from PAX South next year, so that'll be fun. But yeah, February 7th, 2017. This week has been another really productive one. I've been doing a lot of work this week on actually building some, hopefully shipping level prefabs. I did a little bit of that work on camera this week. I did 2 one-hour streams, and I'll put the links to those archives down below if you want to check those out. But yeah, that turned out really well. I sort of noticed as I was going through there that some of my tools weren't working as well as I'd hoped. I didn't have ways to immediately jump into a level and test a prefab that I was working on. I sort of had to play through an entire level and hope that I ran into that one. So I've added some improvements to my editor to help deal with those issues, and yeah, it's coming along really well. So I'm going to jump into the game again and sort of show what I've been doing. Well, I guess as long as I've got the editor open here, I can show some of the stuff I've been working on. If you watched either of the streams earlier this week, this is going to be redundant, but just to very quickly go over some of the stuff. I've been stubbing out a few prefabs here that match configurations that my tools can report, so it can show how frequently certain configurations occur in the real world when I generate 10,000 levels. See what occurs most frequently, so I know where to focus my time and effort. And then I can come in here and start building prefabs that match those configurations. It will suggest different types of spawn points I can place in each room. So, for instance, it might suggest that, an enemy could go here because I don't have a spawn point for enemies. Additionally, then, I can also now choose to play using this prefab. And what it will do is it will generate as many levels as it needs to until it finds one that contains the active prefab, and it will launch me right into the game there. If it doesn't find one, it'll tell me, it couldn't find it, try again. And I can, retry that, and hey, there's the prefab I was looking at. So I've got an NPC here behind some bomb walls, so I can throw some bombs there, break through that, and get to the NPC. So yeah, that's sort of what I've been working on this week. I can also just do play from start, and I think I'll probably just go through an entire level here on camera and see how that goes. Like I mentioned last week, I do have playable characters in the game now. When I launch the game from the editor, it starts me as Vario, also gives me maximum hearts, maximum monies, and everything else. So it's not a real gameplay experience, but as far as just being able to very quickly run through a level and see the sorts of things that can occur, this is sort of a nice debug mode. So I've tried putting some things like spikes in here. Those don't necessarily work well all the time. I may actually just cut spikes and any sort of instant death traps entirely, because I don't necessarily feel like this is the right game for that. One of the things that I was showing off earlier this week is that the backgrounds now have some procedural decoration added to them. So you can see that some of the bricks have this distressed texture, and that's all just happening randomly. It's actually a layer of Perlin noise that sort of just uses a threshold to decide whether it uses the clean bricks or the distressed bricks. But it ends up looking sort of similar to what would happen if I were to go through and paint those sort of decorations by hand, as I did in Gunmetal Arcadia 0. So between that and sort of the automatic decoration of adding shadows around the sides of walls and underneath ceilings, levels are actually starting to look not all that different from what I would design by hand, and that's really exciting because it's all procedural at this point. I also have the opportunity now to add optional tiles. So, for instance, I think I talked about this in last week's video, but some of the time when you see, random gaps in walls like this. That's because it's choosing randomly to place tiles in those locations or not. So you get just a little bit of variety there, so you aren't seeing exactly 100% the same prefabs every single time. I also have these markers around boss rooms and mini boss rooms now, so it's got the skull and crossbones here and the vertical lines. Those are all being added procedurally, so I don't have to make a prefab that necessarily knows it's going to be connected to a boss room. It can take any existing prefab and add these decorations when it knows that it's next to a boss room. So this is where a mini boss would appear. There's nothing there yet, but eventually there will be. Now just sort of speed run to the end of the level. Come here. Oh, I went the wrong way. Just really hoping I don't fall into spikes, because that would just destroy this entire video. So yeah, then, same thing for the boss room. I've got those decorations around the walls there, and again, there's no boss here yet, but there would be after the boss. There's one more room. I don't remember if there's always a door after the boss room, but frequently there is, and that's, like in Zero, there's usually a chance to sell off some items right at the end of the level. And I wanted to get that sort of thing in there procedurally. So sometimes you will run into those, sometimes you won't. Maybe. But yeah, that's sort of the state the game is in now. I'm just continuing to add more prefabs, get more variety in there. So hopefully you don't see the same sorts of things every time. It's all about avoiding that sort of repetition. I have some plans to weight the selection of prefabs better so you don't see them too frequently in conjunction with each other. I had a few instances on stream earlier this week where it shows the same prefab right next to each other or two right on top of each other, and I want to avoid those sorts of scenarios. So I'll be continuing to work on that stuff probably all the way up until until February when the game launches. But it's definitely coming along pretty well. It's going to be a very crunchy 5 months, I think, from here on out, but I have enough of the core systems implemented and enough of the game sort of stubbed out at this point that I can see a road to the finish line, so that's exciting. As always, thanks for watching. This series is supported through Patreon. I want to give a shout out to Patreon supporters Jace, Benjamin, and Opa and Nana for their contributions. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.